Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to the GWFM Imocha Skills First Conference, a collaborative effort by GWFM, the Global Forum of People and Workforce Management Leaders, and Imocha, Brewing a Skills First Planet. I am Binu Sachin, your host for this afternoon and evening. We are here to explore the transformative power of prioritizing skills in today's dynamic workforce landscape. The skills-first approach in HR has evolved challenging traditional practices, and we are privileged to have esteemed HR leaders and industry experts to guide us through this enlightening journey. Let's begin with the welcome note by Dr. Shiva Kumar, who's the founder of GWFM. Shiva, over to you.
Thanks, Binu. Hi, everyone. It's really privileged to host first HR event in the 2024. We have planned totally 17 events globally. We love to host HR and WFM events. It gives me a great pleasure to extend warm welcome to each and every one of you to GWFM and Imocha Skills First Conference. As a founder, Global Workforce Management Forum of People and Workforce Management Leaders, I'm truly honored to host this gathering of HR professionals, industry leaders, and experts in the field of workforce management. Today, it makes us a significant milestone as we come together to explore and champion the transformative power of skills-first recruitment and talent management. Through this conference, we aim to evolve deep into the skills-first recruitment and talent management, uncovering innovative strategies, best practices, adaptability, actionable insights that will enable organizations to thrive into the digital age. I encourage each one of you to actively engage yourself in discussions, ask any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat box to any particular speaker or to other speakers. We'll take the questions at the end. Share your experiences and valuable insights from our esteemed speakers and panelists. Let us chart the course of future of skills which are valid and essential for the organization to look at. Skill is a currency. If you do not have a skill, the talent is not required anymore. Our future is now. Organizations should look at skills. If skills are matching to the organizations, which means that you're ready now and future ready. If skills are not matching even 50%, you got to really hire or probably acquire a company. Today's event is going to be carrying huge knowledge sharing and professional networking. Join us on our social media, and I will thank Imocha for taking this opportunity to join hands with us to talk about skills first, which is need for the hour. And our esteemed speakers and panelists are going to talk about all the trends and insights from their organization point of view and also the industry perspective. With this, I welcome all of you to the Skills First Conference in association with Imocha. Thank you. Over to you, Binu.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shiva, for that warm welcome. That welcome note. May I now request Mr. Partho Ganguly, co-founder GWFM, to set the context for today's conference. Over to you, Partho.
Good afternoon, one and all. It's such a pleasure to see all of you here. And the first thing I would like to do is to, before I get into the context setting, I would first like to acknowledge our grateful thanks to Imocha for making this event possible. The contribution cannot be articulated in so many words, but it's such an overwhelming feeling that, we are today able to host this event because Imocha stood as a support system. Thank you so much. So let me just take a few brief moments to talk about the context of our discussions would actually be around the theme navigating the future, skills first recruitment and talent management. In today's rapidly evolving world, the traditional methods of recruitment and talent management no longer suffice in addressing the demands of the modern workforce. The concept of skills first recruitment and talent management represents a seismic shift in how organizations identify, evaluate, and nurture talent. Instead of solely focusing on qualifications and job titles, organizations are placing a premium on specific skills and competencies that drive performance and innovation. By embracing a skills-first approach, organizations can unlock the full potential of the workforce, foster a culture of continuous learning and development, and stay ahead in an increasingly competitive landscape. Through this conference, we will delve into strategies, best practices, and emerging trends shaping the future of skills-first recruitment and talent management. Our aim is to provide you with actionable insights and practical solutions that will empower you to navigate the complexities of the modern workforce with confidence and agility. Let's embark on this journey of exploration and discovery as we chart a course towards a future where skills are the currency of success. I would like to thank all the senior HR leaders who have most graciously agreed to participate in this event and share their views and insights. Thank you so much, Imocha. Thank you all. Back to you, Binu.
Thank you so much, Balthoda, for setting the context and for enlightening us as to what is it that we need to look forward to. Ronald Reagan said, the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. So in today's world of work, a boss has the title, the leader has the people. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, and it's always about the goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and pleasure that we introduce our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Suraj Chetri, Director HR for Airbus India. With an illustrious career spanning over 27 years, Mr. Chetri brings a wealth of experience and expertise in the aerospace, automotive, engineering, sales, marketing, and manufacturing sectors. Mr. Chetri's journey in the realm of human resources commenced after completing his bachelor's in sociology from Ranchi University and a PG DPM from Xavier's Institute of Social Service, XISS Ranchi. He embarked on his professional voyage with Bata India in 1993. Subsequently, moving on to hold pivotal roles at renowned organizations such as Bosch India, General Motors, and Textron India, where his contributions were marked with numerous accolades and awards. Joining Airbus in 2011, Mr. Chetri has steered the HR landscape for India and South Asia, driving initiatives that have garnered widespread recognition. His commitment to excellence and innovation has led Airbus to be conferred with prestigious awards, including recognition for its innovative HR practices and being named a dream company to work for by the World HRD Congress. A distinguished thought leader, Mr. Chetri is a regular speaker at major business schools, seminars, and conferences across India, sharing his insights and expertise with the next generation of leaders. With his vast experience, profound knowledge, and unwavering dedication, Mr. Suraj Chetri continues to inspire and drive positive change within the aerospace industry and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Mr. Suraj Chetri, Director HR, Airbus India. Over to you, Mr. Suraj.
Thank you very much, Binu. You make me sound larger than life, which in reality I'm not. I'm just 5 feet, 5 inch and a half. When I was approached to talk about this subject by Parthoda, I started thinking it's elementary, my dear Parthoda, that the first thing we acquire or we do is skill ourselves. But then I deep dived and I realized that a huge difference is in the understanding in this very subject itself. I realized that training, learning, skilling, education are different words and do not mean the same thing. Then I deep dived to do a little bit more of research, and I read a few reports that Imocha initiated with key big fours, and then I could see the forest for the trees. A lot of discussion has happened on skills, and we refer to a few of them being the new currency, skilling initiatives. We talk about Skill India, etc., etc., etc. But don't get me wrong, they are great initiatives. But Skill First is a holistic approach embodied in a framework that revolves around skills and its interaction with the different facets within the organization internally and externally in the ecosystem. Now, let me go a little bit further and tell you what I'm thinking about. When you think employment marketing, advertisement, recruitment, talent acquisition, hiring, development, what do you think? Do you hire for skills? If you do, great. Think about how do you test these skills when you hire and how do you verify them? Do you have a repository? Great. Can they be mapped against individual people? Can they be transferred to an individual development plan? Can they be tracked, aligned to the employee and his journey all throughout the organization? Can new skills that he acquires get into this repository? Can this be integrated into the competency mapping system for the role, for the future? Is there a tech roadmap that he can align to? Is there a skill roadmap that he can align to in the company? Can this become visible to all the employees? And everything, talking to everything within the system as far as a full sync is concerned. That is, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to talk about, and that is the subject of Skill First. If the answer to all these questions that I asked you is yes, then my next question would be, what are you doing here listening to me? But I'll not try to disappoint you on that. You must be thinking, listening to all these things, come on, Suraj, what about behaviors and attitudes and EQ, IQ, culture fit? Aren't those important? Think along with me and let's park them in the basket of skills for right now. Dream with me for a framework, the sole focus of which is skills. Whether it be tech, it be IT, be engineering, behavior, and then look at how can we match each candidate in a specific, scientific, and analytical way. And of course, I have to throw in jargons, otherwise folks will think I do not know AI and machine learning systems that can help you to learn and develop this model that you have made. The more we feed in parameters, the more smarter it becomes. And this could be used as a diagnostic tool, not only for hiring, but all throughout the life cycle of the employee within the organization. It's something like when you go to a pathology lab. They take your blood sample, they map it against particular parameters, and then you get a result. Then the doctor looks at it and says, you have to reduce intake of whatever, meat, proteins, you have to walk more, you have to reduce weight, etc., etc., etc. Similarly, think about a learning scientist who will give you an individual development plan, constantly monitoring all these parameters of yours, and then take you to where you would like to go in your journey of skilling internally and externally. We will have to wait for the day where our blood test will tell us our skills and competencies. I know y'all are laughing on mute, but don't laugh, because we say, right, the life of a person is in his blood. So if the life of a person in his blood, then obviously someday we'll be able to measure, get a skill map from the blood test that he gives. But probably the technology and the skills are not available to do that today. I was just talking to a few of the gurus in this field, and I did mention the fact, and I asked them, don't you think very soon organizations will pay for skills? And they will not bother about skills at all, about the softer skills that we so harp upon: teamwork, collaboration, interpersonal skills, EQ, culture, of course, for the right reasons. But just think with me, the kids that are there in this generation, what do we see in them? We see that social interaction is not one of their fortes. They want to be in a digital world, and the digital world has taken over their lives. Being social is not important to them at all. There would be exceptions, but of course. So why should we force them to meet physically? And if we don't force them to meet physically, why work in teams at all that are physically established? And if we are not meeting together, probably we may not require a lot of these social things that we are talking about. Think along with me, because if you think I have the answer, I don't have the answer. I only have the questions. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but they are always online, digitally, and connected with everything that's going on. They have their own avatars. They work on the metaverse. They produce results. So think along with me. Probably a day will come when today the responsibility of this aspect of skilling is with organizations. It will transition from organizations to people supported by organizations, and pretty soon it will be the sole responsibility of the employee to get themselves tech skill savvy in the next gen workplace of the future. Because if they do not skill themselves, probably they will not have jobs that they can pick and choose from in the future. Not only are organizations thinking in this direction, but universities and colleges also, because they know otherwise Sing will become king. Sorry, skills will become the king. Then the focus will move away from the acquisition of degrees and assimilation of knowledge to gaining the required skills that is required for the present, for the now, for the job that needs to be done. The systems today are making us believe that the universities and the colleges are custodians of knowledge, because knowledge is power. Think about in the future that this system completely changes. And I'm seeing this when I talk to the youngsters coming out of the colleges today. I see this change that is happening. The students of this generation are completely different from those of the past. And I'll try to correlate on the aspects that I have covered. Let's talk about the ecosystem. Various systems and processes are available to these people today, which were not available to the previous generations. They participate in hackathons, coding competitions, real-time work, startups, accelerators. They get to solve real-life problems. They have exposure on courses, languages, coding, website, app development, product development. Open source codes is common today, international exposures. Now, if you've paid careful attention to the examples that I was taking, I said something that these students are equipping themselves, which is mostly outside a compulsory curriculum. And that is where the focus is. With the advent of MOOC, I can give you a few examples from my company, Pluralsight, Cornerstone on Demand, Predators, Udemy. The universe is being created for non-university school-related skills. And the day is not far, I can tell you, going to schools and visiting them, when kids will be doing projects with companies on various tech stacks. Why and when this will happen is when the mindset changes from education to skilling. You see the pace with which tech is changing. It is also definitely impacting the skills that are required. And most of the times, by the time you finish a 4-year degree or a 3-year degree from a learning system of schools and colleges, probably what you've learned is obsolete. What took you hours and months to learn is available on the net on the click of a button. And this is making it not only complex for us in organizations, but it is also making it complex for individuals to skill themselves. We at Airbus have a focus on skills and competencies because of the nature of work we do. Many a times, if the required skills are not there because of laws in place, we don't even give employees work to do because they have to be familiarized and certified in different ATAs, different chapters, reference documents in aerospace. So it is much more complicated for us because we are dealing with lives. So what we've started doing is we've started our own academies on digital, on customer services, engineering as focus area. We hire candidates and train them anywhere from 6 months to 12 months and then run them through a skill-specific hiring program. And if they successfully get through that, we onboard them. Yeah, you're thinking, what's so new? Everyone does that. So what is the unique thing that you're doing? Now, what I would encourage you to do is go back and try to hire people with 5 years of engineering experience without guaranteeing a job, and then see how many would join you. And we've been successful in the past 3 batches of hiring at least about 100 people through this program. Because the commitment we do not give for a job, the commitment we give is that we will certify you, we will skill you with critical, deep engineering domain understanding on aerospace. And many a times they will get to work on technologies, softwares, which are homegrown, which are much better than what is available on the commercial market. And they mature and grow as aerospace engineers. And if I can guarantee them that complete skill set, then is only when I can use them for my requirements, and they are happy because they become more employable in the market after doing this technical certification with us. I will give you one more tip because then like a consultant, I will have to start charging you if I give you more inputs. But each and every organization today is sitting on a gold mine of skilled employees. Now you'll ask me, Suraj, I didn't know I was sitting on a gold mine of skilled employees. Today, employees within your organizations are focusing on employability. They are working on their new skills to catch up with the latest trends, certifying themselves. Huge opportunities are there in every organization, not only mine, in every one of your organizations where you have given them, the exposure. And I talked about, MOOC, Pluralsight, Udemy, Cornerstone on Demand, internal training, etc., sandbox softwares that they can work on, certifications that they can get on. And what are you doing by this? And if in an organization you have the tech roadmap available to them, of where are you heading as an organization and what do they need to skill themselves as, you are creating various talented, skilled people internally within your organization. Now the question is up to you. Will you give an opportunity to these people that have trained and groomed themselves at your cost, at your time, with your infrastructure, or you want them to move out somewhere else that others are ready to bet upon other than you? Mind you, the business environment is multidimensional, and it is, various words you will hear, VUCA and bunny and all those things. It's in a state of constant flux, and it will continue to be. It's not going to get easy. And let me tell you, skill is going to be in the center, and you need to try to understand that how to utilize, with the advent of new skills, this ecosystem will change, and you need to understand how do you cope for the future, which will be completely different from what we are used to. Many organizations, many places internally in our organization, the concept of the future is ready. The end goal is clear in the next 5 to 10 years. The tech may or may not be ready, but where we grapple with is, where are the skills that will execute these opportunities that we see in the future? That is missing. And if you are thinking that today you're skilling people for the jobs that you are having today, probably you've already lost the race, because you should be thinking 5, 7 years down the line of what is required and start grooming these people on the different skills that are required. I always say, and I will end with this because Dada gave me, let me see how many minutes are left. 17 minutes, Dada gave me 20 minutes. I always say that the illiterate, or let me say the digital gawar of this century, will be someone who fails to understand that they need to continuously learn, unlearn, relearn, de-learn, continue the cycle again and again till he has his own tombstone. That is, in a nutshell, what I wanted to talk about. And Bindu, back to you. Binu, back to you. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Suraj. A leader's job is not to do the work for others. It is to help figure out how to make others do it themselves, getting things done and success beyond what they thought possible. Thank you for your eye-opening address, Mr. Suraj. You have made us become a better version of ourselves, and hope we are not uh, the term that you coined, digital gawar, right? So I hope we don't be that, and be a better version of ourselves. And we want to let you understand how grateful we are for this, while we still have the opportunity. to let us thank you for all that you've done for the whole of the HR community. Mr. Suraj, may I please request you to, add in a couple of sentences while we have Mr. Vishwanath joining us and while we fix that issue of having him on board with us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the
You just want me to entertain the
No,
guests.
definitely not.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not
I
good
was
at
very
dancing.
impressed with the the word that you coined, digital gawar. तो उसके बारे में आप थोड़ा और बताएंगे?
See, the reason why I'm saying that is if you look at the whole ecosystem today, from the villages to the towns, everyone is so beautifully and wonderfully digitally connected. And what surprises me many a times is what you have in your personal life and the access that you have to technology and digital applications. Sadly, when it comes to organizations, the story you hear is, it'll cause hacking, it'll cause concerns, this, that, the other, so we will not be able to provide you. Many organizations have gone beyond that and supported organizations, and that's what makes me wonder that sometimes you feel handicapped in your own personal life. You work on technology and stuff like that which is savvy, and then you go back a couple of generations when you reach office. And I think that should be the endeavor of organizations, um, supported by HR, to ensure how we can equally balance so there is a seamless integration and you don't realize, when you are in office and when you're at home. So I think, and we are getting there. Slowly we are getting there. Where earlier we used to say my private life is private, my personal life is personal. Now it's all getting mixed together. A couple of hours I do my personal stuff, then I come back, log in, do my work, and then again I do my duties and responsibilities. And this is changing the whole environment and the ecosystem. What I mean by that is today we are defining how we live and how we work. And of course, and I always say, I talk about this aspect where we say that work is not where you go, but work is what you do. And over to you, Vish.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful thought,
This
Suraj.
was
Thanks for giving us that insight, and thank you, Vishwanath. Nice to have you back with us.
yeah. Thank you very much. And I was on the call. I was hearing all of you, and then all of this happened. So anyway, technology takes precedence for all of this. So I think without further ado, I think I'll introduce my fellow colleagues who are in the part of this session. We have Anupam. If you can just raise your hand, please. Anupam Srivatsava from Reltio. Thank you very much. We have Raksha from SAP Labs. Hey, Raksha. Then
Hi, Vish.
then we have Param. Param from Capital One. Do we have him here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Present, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Pooja from Boeing. Pooja,
Hi,
can you?
Vishwa. I'm there.
Okay. So interestingly, we have both Airbus and Boeing taking us through today. So I think the ride will be very wonderful. So we have Chena Reddy. I heard him anyway. I think he's definitely here. Thank you, Chena Reddy. And do we have Sudhir here?
Yes.
Sudhir. Hey, Sudhir. Hi. And last but not the least, Dishank. Dishank from Odisha.
Hey, Vishwa. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Guys, I think there was a good note by Suraj. And Suraj, thank you for that digital gawar. I learned something of that, and I'll ensure that we'll not become like that. But then that's a very interesting one. I'm suggesting you to do some kind of coining of the word because I don't think I've heard that kind of word until now. So please do something there. It's a real good one that we've heard from you. So without further ado, I think Anupam, my favorite question to you, right? So
So a lot of people are talking about skills first, and all that stuff. I would just wanted you to kind of define me what is skill first approach, and icing on the cake. Maybe you would also want to give us some examples of if you're doing something in your work, in your current implementations. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashwa. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And a lot of known faces there. So good to see everyone again virtually here, and hopefully we'll meet soon in some of the conferences there. So, okay, about the topic of skill first recruiting, I think it's a very interesting topic. And if we see in the real time world how it has been perceived, I would say, because there's always a tug of war between a brand, between an orthodox and very conventional way of doing thing or something different, doing something differently, right? So it's very important to understand what is it really actually a skill first thing to do. So a skill first, basically, if I connect to the recruiting word, it basically goes for a skill first recruiting refers to the hiring approach where the emphasis is primarily placed on the assessing a candidate's skill and abilities rather than focusing on solely on factors like educational background or previous job titles or professional backgrounds, etc., etc. By saying that, I'm not saying that those things and details can be ignored, but I'm saying some of those things can take a back seat when we are purely looking at a skill first approach to hire somebody. So this is what it means, a skill first thing. Earlier ways like, okay, fine, BTech, IIT. I'm not saying it's all the bad colleges and those things are good or bad colleges. There's not nothing like good and bad in this. But in today's scenario, I'm seeing that shift from companies moving from where you have come from versus what you know. I think that's making a big difference in the current society and entire game there, right? Yeah. And if I really have to talk about its significance, right? The significance is enormous. Like we can talk about anything around that. It provides you a rapid technological advancement, right? With this rapid pace of all technology advancement, the new things that are coming up, a skill requirement give us an edge to evolve quickly, and like allows company to adopt new things and changes what's coming into the market very fast. Nowadays, if you look at pre-COVID, I don't know how to define post-COVID because still I could see that impact ongoing side. But pre-COVID and now, I would say like the changing nature of the work. So this skill first concept has evolved a lot, especially in last couple of years, where the nature of work is shifting towards more of like a project-based or remote or gig economy models, if you talk about those things, right? So a lot of things are like contributing that part. And definitely it is helping companies survive in the global competition, right? Like everything more like 80-90% people they're working in this global environment, right? So in the global competition, there are a lot of companies are globally either they are from the different locations or they are serving a client different locations. So this kind of thing is skill first people and help organizations remain very competitive because they have the skills what we need. Rather, we have somebody who is having the background but not the skill, right?
Yeah.
But again, so apart from that, like a lot of dimension can be looked into, like your specialized skill part, right? So you can have your specialized skills part if you have the skill based hiring, right? And cost effectiveness and then diversity inclusion plays a lot of role because when you promote a skill first to recruiting promotes list. So the focusing on the candidate's abilities rather than the background or demographics, etc. Right? So prioritizing the skills there. It has a lot of benefits, and as to answer Vishwa's question on like if I have seen something. So I think recently IBM has implemented that that's their new collar initiatives, right? Where they're purely heading towards the skill first hiring approach, what they're doing. And Tesla, if you look at some of they have published one company-wide node and one of the paper they published, I think 7 months back. The approach and the things they're looking into, they have also tweeted about that. The CEO tweeted about that, the way they are looking into their purely into skill-based side of it.
Yeah.
So this is how I see like skill first recruiting, but at the same time, like if the lot of advantages there, but there's a downside to it also. And before we adapt and before we follow that part, it always looks very flashy and good. But before we adapt and before we go for that, I think we should be also understanding the limitations with this. That will give you the holistic approach. right? Like limitations, you can talk about like very limited focus about that, right? Skill first recruiting may prioritize specific technical skills over others important qualities like cultural fitment, or maybe soft skills, etc. Right? It might, because if we go by the skill first approach, many at times we tend to overlook the potential part of it, because we are very much start focusing on the present abilities versus the potential for the future, right? It may also intend the lack of diversity. Sometimes it looks like sometimes it's a short-term approach, right? And I've seen people like retention challenges in those cases because they know something what they are, but because they don't have a uh, other skills or potential, or maybe they're expert in one domain, so retention also becomes a problem. So I would say overall, it's a good thing to have, and that's where the word is turning into. But at the same time, the moment we start approaching this thing, we should always keep in mind how the other important things are not ignored. So that's my take.
Yeah. Thank you, Anupam, for scaring us enough. I think it is important for all of us to understand this before implementing it. So, Raksha, my question to you is that maybe you can start thinking about or talking about how is it different from a traditional qualification-based hiring versus skill-based hiring? If you can talk about it, and if you can add some of your internal examples, that will be really great. Thank you.
Sure, Vishwa. Hello, everyone, and absolutely happy to be here. I think I will start from where Anupam left. So he spoke about how a skill first hiring approach or a skill first approach is good, but it can also be challenging. Now, the beauty of a skills first approach is that, or rather, it should be applied across the full talent life cycle.
Yeah.
If an organization has a common language for all talent related decisions across functions, be it talent acquisition, be it your training, development, etc., then an organization can think more holistically about what are the skills that the organization has and what are the needs of the organization for the future. Obviously, imagine if an organization ties its EVP to a fact that we are not hiring you for this role only, but we are hiring you for the organization. So while you may have 50 or 60% of the skills that are needed for this role, but we're looking at upskilling you, grooming you to take roles in the future as well. How compelling that EVP would be for an employee or for a probable candidate to join that organization, because the employee would see that there is a potential to grow, and it's about a career and not a particular role itself.
Yeah.
So coming to, what are some of the practices that we look at, or how a skill first hiring approach can be implemented? I think there are few things that we should look at, and some of it is that we are also doing. So one is that, you need to have a job architecture. So while it sounds very daunting to have a job architecture, it is nothing but centralizing the skills for any role that is needed in your organization. So let us say if it is product management, what a product manager in your organization or in that particular line of business would be doing. So there would be a soft skills aspect, there would be a functional skills aspect, there would be a technical skills aspect to it, mostly. How do you do this? It's basically the hiring managers and the recruiters collaborate to define these skills and the competencies which are essential for the success in that position. It is about analyzing what are the set of responsibilities that are associated with the role, identifying the specific skills that are necessary to perform that job effectively. Once you have the skills defined, it is also probably with use of some AI technology, etc., you can also source potential candidates from your own CRM, whatever you are using. Now, most important part of hiring is also the way we evaluate or assess the candidates.
Yeah.
Now, it can depend on, what the organization needs or what kind of role the organization is hiring for. But some of the typical assessments or the typical ways to evaluate a candidate could be your practical assessments, your case studies, skill-based assessments, interviews, situational interviews, or while you are some coding challenges, some simulations. So it will all again boil down to what are the set of skills that is being looked at for a particular role, right? And then there also has to be a proficiency level to the skill. So if I just go back, because I'm understanding most of the people here are technology folks, what does a software developer one do versus a software developer two or a software developer three, if this is how you've defined. So what is the skills and the proficiencies? And most importantly, the criteria should be objective and it should be consistent. So this is what it is. Like now, a couple of reports that I was reading, a recent report by Forbes said almost 55% of the organizations in some way or form are using role-specific skill sets. But when they spoke to the HR leaders or the HR practitioners, almost 85% of them said that they would really like to use a skill-based approach for their entire talent lifecycle. So it's not just about hiring, it is across how you're retaining people. And a very good example that I'll share with all of you, and it's like kind of, I feel is the best practice, is we offer fellowship opportunities. Now, I am a talent attraction professional. What a fellowship opportunity for me could look like, it could look like a pre-sales opportunity if I'm interested in exploring what sales looks like. So there's a talent marketplace and there's an opportunity that is open there. It's like a job being posted. Okay. Or tomorrow, if I want to, dabble with saying, I want to learn about rewards, total rewards, or compensation as we know it, and there's an opportunity there, I can go there. It could be 3 months, 6 months, 30% of my time, 50%, 100% of my time, whatever. It could be defined, and I go and work with that team. Right. And then I evaluate whether I'm really interested, not interested, if there's an opportunity, no opportunity. But what I've done in this is that I've developed that set of skills.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen people from development come and dabble in HR and recruitment, and then they've made great careers. And the other way around, the vice versa. I had recently I had a team member who went for a fellowship opportunity with the pre-sales team for about 8 months. And then they came back. It's not like if you've gone for a fellowship, you need to be there in that team. You come back. But that person came back enriched and became a better sales recruiter, is able to attract talent, have those conversations better. So I think it's important to gain skills, develop skills. And like what Suraj also said, continuous upskilling is necessary at this point of time. I think it has always been necessary. I've been in the industry for 20 years. It's always been necessary that we keep skilling and upskilling ourselves.
Yeah. Thanks, Savita. I think thanks, Raksha. So I just wanted to understand one research that you said, Forbes, that it is very, very interesting one that you mentioned. So Param, we'll move to you, right? So I think there was a recent research. They said that every company, almost every company is thinking about skill first kind of a thing, right? So I would want you to understand, I would want you to tell me how is that you are doing things at your organization? Is it something that you are doing something new, and maybe your views will help? Thank you.
Sure, thanks so much. I think before going to this question, I think I really align what Anupam and Raksha have said, that I think it is totally aligned with that. And when we look at the study today, so 83%, the employers, they are really working on it. I think that's not new, the corporate world. I remember when I started my journey back in 2004, even if somebody used to write just a Java in the CV, companies like HCL, Adobe, and all that, I think you used to hire a person. At least somebody knows the basics, somebody just know have a basic, OOPS concept understanding. I think we are good to hire a Java person as well. So I think industry have there are a lot of people who are there in the organizations even now as we speak. They are there they're in the respective organization for more than 15, 20 years. I think they are upskilling them almost every year or two.
Yeah.
When we know about so AI ML, so I think this has started, I think at least 5 years back, and back then, I think including nobody was talking about even AI. So I think as we speak, I think you are the master in that, which you know that already, right? So we all are working on a lot of new AI application features to ensure that we are up and running from AI perspective. We are learning on daily basis to ensure that we are giving the best experience to our stakeholder. We are enhancing our customer experience as well and current experience as well. So when we look at those, I think we are up and running there. Maybe I'll share one of the example in my previous, stint with Stand Chartered. So we did a study, where we are setting up a machine learning shop in India, and we really had a challenge to hire the best talent from the industry. And in terms of costing, time period, and all that, I think we went ahead with a hire and train model. Where we feel that we even if somebody is not really a machine learning developer, we will hire the plain vanilla skills, somebody who's good into the basic fundamentals in the coding, Python and all, and we should hire them. And we hired, I think, a good number of 100 people in India, in Singapore, and China put together in these three countries. And we really had a good successful model that time. And there we developed there, the learning plan for next 5 years. First 2 years more of a understanding, having a lot of transitioning from the business from other countries to India, and then again learn up the skills, and then start experiencing those skills and having good productivity after third year. So I think we really developed that plan, and that plan which we developed for the new hires, at the same time we developed that for our internal techies as well, to ensure that even if they are also applying, and even if they're also keen and interested with those machine learning and new projects which is transition from global to India, so they should also start participating and getting benefit out of it and upskilling them for the new skills. So I think this is not new, which you said that is rightly 83% as an employer they are doing this upskilling now. I think they will be keep going, and I'm sure more than 95% in the results we will see that next couple of years time.
Thanks, thanks, Param. I think you've made an important point that it is not very new, it is old, but I think we are knowing it now, right? So thank you very much for that. So, Pooja, I'll kind of shift the gears now. One is the skill first approach and all that, but then can you share us some best practices of how do we identify, assess, validate, and all of that in this journey? Do you have any experience that you can talk about? How do we, from identifying to assess to validate, the entire candidate journey towards the entire skill first approach? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Vishwa. A very good afternoon to everyone. And it's a pleasure connecting again back to the known faces. I very much agree to all the points I think Suraj made, Anupam, Raksha and Param made, right? I think this is something which is kind of a new subject we all are learning together in the industry. And that's where I see the skill-based hiring is completely on rise, right? Which helps organization to reduce their skill gap required for specific roles which we are looking for, because as somebody rightly mentioned, just putting Java doesn't make sense these days, right? So the recruiter who is not from the technical side will not understand that what exactly the person is going to do. And that's the reason even candidates understand very well. So they know or they don't know, they fake it sometimes that they write anything and everything they want to put it, right? But again, it comes back to the talent acquisition team, that how you really identify those resources, right? So because of this rapid change in the nature of work, also the new technologies, what any organization look for is something very unique in the market, right? And that's where the challenge arises. And that's where I see what is happening is the kind of an offers which we are giving it, right? The agility and the flexibility in the current lucrative environment for the organization is like to get the resource who is really great in the skill, right? And same for the candidates as well, because they just don't want to come and join the organization and do that coding and then go away, right? Everybody comes with a mindset of the multiple opportunities, learn the different cultures, right? And grow with the organization. And that's where I think we all are calling out again and again about the upskilling and reskilling, which we also do it being into the talent acquisition, and we expect everyone to do it in the each role, right? So with that, the best practices I would like to share, I think already we have discussed specifically, but want to go back on the job description or the job analysis, how we put across, right? That is something very important when we really talk about the skill. Because I do literally, when I see a job description asking anything and everything, and I ask them that, are you looking for a scientist or a developer? Please help me understand. Because if I don't understand, how will I make sure that I am getting a right candidate, right? So the analysis of the job is very important. And that's where we play that talent partner role, right, with the hiring manager, to help them understand that the skill what you're looking for has to be something which is in a layman language easy to understand, right? And with that, I would say the essence or the aspects, we suggest a lot of different kind of an assessments to them. For each level or the role, we have different kind of an assessment. And as in best practice, in my 18 year of career, what I have seen is for all the programming coding thing, the skill assessment as in term of the coding test, the aptitude test, because somebody who can code well, but somebody who doesn't understand how to articulate your code will not work, right? That's where our industry is moving toward, right? With the behavioral interviews, where we put it across to them in the scenario based question to help them understand if you are a junior developer or a mid level or a senior level. When you go and interact with your client, you are good at coding, but if some question comes in, how do you really articulate the thing? That helps understand that you really know your language of the skill well or not, right? So the behavioral interviews are equally important to evaluate, right? Many times the case studies we give them with the coding and with the the behavioral aptitude and attitude, to understand that he or she can be capable or have the capabilities to move forward in the next role or not. So we do a lot of those assessment, and which I feel is really important in that matter. When we do the new hiring, I think the background check, nowadays LinkedIn profile, again, we can portray whatever we want, but does it really sounds right? We again a question back to us, right? So we do a lot of background check for the mid to senior level, wherein we have alumni groups, right, from the colleges, from the companies, where we ask them to give some kind of an background about that resources. As Raksha was mentioning about fellowship, so we hire a lot of technical fellows, right? They are like kind of in top-notch technical resources. So it's not easy to get them, but when we have to get them, we have to do a lot of checks, right? That are we hiring the right person or not? We spoke about education versus skills. So definitely degree is something which is really good to have, but skill becomes very important over there. So being in Boeing, I have seen that, certain degrees we require, but certifications become more important for us. That if he or she is not certified, we have to really think whether we have to take or not. We do a lot of hiring from the technical institute for skill hiring based hiring thing, because we feel somebody who study, that is a compulsion to study, but when you go to an institute, that's a compulsion to learn the skill, right? And you really know whether you can do it or not, and then evaluating them to get in your organization is something very important. So these are the some best practices, Vishwa, what we really work upon. But aptitude and attitude, I will say, at the end plays a major role.
Yeah, thanks, Pooja. I think you added an assessment element, attitude, and aptitude element to it. It kind of created a new dimension to the whole story now. So thank you very much for that. So generally, I think my question is, while skill first and all that is a framework or a process and all that, but do you see any tool or technology playing a role in making this happen? Your views, please. Thank you. Did I get this question correct? Generally, did you get the question right?
Yeah, I hear your question. Thank you so much. I was on mute, sorry. So good to be part of this discussion. I have been given opportunity to implement ATS and other technology platforms for HR domain in the previous organizations and in the current organization. I've got an opportunity to implement 3 platforms so far in my career. That is not only for India, that is for global. Keeping that in mind, I would like to talk about the role of the technology and tools in facilitating skill-based recruitment. So to win and stay consistent in the hunt of best talent, technology enables, robust platform by streamlining and enhancing the hiring process. Now, let's talk about some areas where technology and tools contribute to skill-based recruitment. The first and foremost thing which I would like to talk about is inbound marketing. So today, talent acquisition team is struggling a lot in terms of posting the same job in multiple, websites. You get responses from from these platforms, and those responses will be either in the specific platform or in the inbox of a recruiter. This is a real challenge. Now, in the past, I had this opportunity to introduce inbound marketing in the previous organization. With just a click of a button, a recruiter will be able to post the job in 16 different sites. Right? So the moment job is posted, these technology platforms have ability to take skills from these job descriptions and put them as hashtags, so that this job will reach to almost all the people in the platform who has those skill set. Now it's not about socializing the job. It's about collecting the responses. It's all about screening the resumes. Correct. So there are platforms in the industry where system has a capability to auto screen the resumes, rank the candidates. They can give 4 or 5 top matching resumes to the recruiters, so that recruiters will only focus on those 4 or 5 resumes. So this will really help us to reduce the number of interviews, reduce the SLA of hiring. And in my personal experience, and this is the real-time data which I'm going to give you, a candidate who has applied through inbound marketing, the probability of him or her joining the organization is 92%.
Yeah.
Right? Before that, I was assuming that employee referral has the highest joining ratio. But after implementing these technology platforms which are AI enabled, I'm able to get more responses, reduce the screening time, reduce the SLA, and the probability of joining is also really high. That's one thing which I would like to bring to your notice. Thanks. And the most important aspect is skill-based assessments. We have technology and tool help evaluate candidate ability in a standardized manner. So this will avoid human bias. So even today, we are doing interviews without, tools and technologies in place. We should quickly, change over from the current practices. Raksha was talking about the way we evaluate, right? So that's the reason, this is something which is very important. There has to be skill-based assessments powered by tools and technologies.
Thanks, Reddy. I think you made an interesting point. In fact, there was a recent, article about LinkedIn where they said that if you apply to a role, the chance of you joining the organization is 90%. If you have been approached by us, somebody else asked you to apply, your joining ratio is only 75%.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the inbound example is really good, Chana Reddy. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So there will kind of shift gears now. So India or any individual is very, very good at, while we're talking about current stuff, a lot of people talk about future stuff also, right? So do you see any trends, future trends and predictions that can change the way we are looking at things? Maybe your views, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Vishwa. First of all, thanks to GWFM and Imocha for creating a platform and pulling all people with the right skills and the abilities to share their experience. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us. And for people who are listening and who want to acquire certain amount of experience, I think it's a great platform for that. Okay, thank you, first of all. Okay, so looking at futuristic. So first and foremost, I think we are doing and thinking about a skill as saying that it has been recently evolved, right? Evolved. It's not a skill which has been recently evolved. way in, say, around 1482 rather, I would say that, right? So Leonardo da Vinci was the first person who, created a resume, first of all.
Wow.
Right, so that is something like where he wanted to share this to the Duke of Duke, saying that like he has got a skill and he want to get recognized and do a kind of a job that he is doing across. So that is where it started, saying that like people have realized in the age-old days, saying that like skill is a basic competency which is required to perform a task. Having said that, so how are we going to look at future? So future is something which is like, to me, it's more imaginary. Rather like being in the present is more important to start with. And when we're looking at future point of it, I see a lot of technology getting involved into it. While we also saying that like the soft skills, behavioral skills, and everything is a skill as such. So when we say behavior is also a skill, right?
Yeah.
So in most of my organizations, what I have done is like we have created a behavioral framework to understand what sort of a culture which is required for a person to showcase their abilities. So this is where technology like AI, ML, and what they call virtual reality, all these kicks into it. So in one of my previous organizations, we wanted to assess what they called a natural calamity that has happened. So how do we do that? So it is not practical for a person to go and visit each and every place and find out, saying that like, what is a calamity that has happened? So we created something called a virtual reality, where through a drone, which goes there and makes the assessment there. And through virtual reality, the person is able to assess the entire damage that has happened, and they can start claiming the insurance which is required for that. So technology is evolving at every space, where it really helps people to narrow down in more analytical way to saying that like how much of assessments can be done in much more accurate manner and brings the right talent to the table.
Yeah.
So the major task for any talent acquisition team, the first thing that comes into hand is the resume of a person. So nowadays, resumes are written by AI and ML, right? So how do we really crack this? Saying that like when a resume is written by AI ML, so but does the real person really have this ability to perform or not? This is where the same AI ML helps us to interpret a person to saying that whether the person has the capability or not. So the virtual assessments or the assessment platforms that we create helps to DV to saying that like what, or a decode to saying that like how much is the talent that the person really has, right?
Yeah.
So this is where the futuristic technology comes into picture. And I think I wouldn't be surprised because in my age-old days, like I have seen a TV serial by name Star Trek, where it had all the technology which is getting implemented now. This is about a 30 to 35 years back technology which I'm referring to, right? So which means people have been saying that like how the future needs to be, otherwise people become obsolete.
Yeah.
So for a person to be more stronger and be winning in their approach, I think upskilling and looking at a futuristic knowledge as to what is to be gained is very critical for a person to be successful here.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts that I want to share.
Thank you. Sudhir, thank you very much for taking us to 1400th century again and then bringing us back to future. And another thing that you mentioned about AIs are actually writing resumes. There are AIs to tell us whether this resume is written by AI or not. So AI is helping us into both the ways. So I think good point that you mentioned. So Dishank, this is my last question to you maybe, and I would want you to understand or tell us something about the role of HR professionals. Now, the role of HR professionals before skill first approach towards today is changing. And there's a lot of change which is happening, and recruitment practices are being changed and all that stuff. So what is your thought process of role of futuristic HR professionals? Thank you.
No, thanks, Vishwa. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be here. Being the last one is both good and bad, right? Good because my learned fraternity members have already covered a lot of insights, so there is a lot of meat on the table already. And bad because I don't know what else to add because everything has been already covered. Right? But nevertheless, moving to the role that HR professionals can play, I think firstly, we must acknowledge that skill first approach is not just a trend, it's a paradigm shift which is happening in the industry. And we as HR professionals are at the forefront of driving this change. So I think the first thing is we must embrace this with an open mind. We must acknowledge that the notion of pedigree over anything else does not really hold good in this world, right? You can't really go with if somebody has done a certain course or somebody has played a certain role, then it is guaranteed that he or she can do it again. And if somebody hasn't studied or hasn't worked in a certain role, then he or she cannot do that. So first, we must accept that we cannot have a preconceived notion about it. Secondly, I think as HR professionals, we must also firstly understand the skill inventory of our organization, right? Where do we stand? We can leverage data analytics to understand where we stand from our current skill sets, what is really needed in the future, and then really have a strategic workforce planning to ensure that whatever gaps you have, you either fulfill those through acquisition of talent or through learning interventions, right? So I think we have to play a very strategic role there. My colleagues talked about creating success profile. I think that's very important, right? How do you define what would make somebody successful in a role, right? And that has to be really covered in terms of knowledge, skills, and abilities, right? Not just knowledge. How do you write clear job descriptions, which are not just confined by jargons and qualifications, but really focusing on skills that are really needed to play the role, right? So I think these are some of the important aspects. How do you leverage skill-based assessment? Some of us talked about it. I think that's also very important. How do you design? I think Raksha was talking about it shouldn't just be at acquisition stage. We have to really envision the entire life cycle of an employee. And how would you really use skill first approach in the life cycle? And I think L&D plays, again, a very crucial role. Our L&D practices have to be more agile in nature. And gone are the days when you can say that a sales professional will only require ABC sort of training. Today, a sales professional can actually change the trajectory and can switch domains. So how do you provide a platform where your learning practices are agile? And I think last but not the least, as HR professionals, we must act as coach and business enablers in this journey. Because if we don't wear the hat of the coach, then it is very hard for us really to adapt to skill first approach. Right? So these are my 2 cents on the topic, Vishwa.
Yeah, there was one question to, I think, Anupam. When you say skill first, is it technical skills, functional skills, behavioral skills, all skills, or only technical skills? I think he answered, but anyway, Anupam, please go on. Thank you.
So when I say skill, I'm talking about the relevant to that industry or organization, what you think is the primary skill you're looking for or what you're hiring for. If it says it's a technical skills or any other skill, it all depends, like the kind of job description you have, the kind of people you're looking for. Because even in current scenario, if you look at, we keep talking about all the AI involvement and everything. We have been talking about the metaverse implementation, but the basic job description copy paste is still not gone. So that is still there, right? If it says skill, so we have to be very careful when we say what skill it is, right? So out of 10 skills, we're hiring for 2 skills. It could be technical, it could be your written, it could be your presentation, it could be anything, what I'm saying, right? If somebody should have a good presentation marketing skill. If we had a person, the person can speak very good English, he has a good presentation skill, but he does not know how to calculate the efficiency and how to build the team, how to fit in the culture, how to handle stakeholders, how to approach customers in a most strategic manner, how to get involved with stakeholders, right? Then it fails. So it's not a long-term plan at all. So when I say skill, I'm not limiting ourselves to technical skills only, although we have 80% or 90% of us have spent our 2 decades in hiring those people. But when I say skill, it just skills. It could be any skill for that reason. Hope I clarify.
Yeah, you are. I think I would want to put all of you on spot for once. If you have to give one sentence of this particular session, what is it that everyone has to take up from here on? What could that be? We'll start with maybe Raksha. Okay, Anupam.
I raise my hand because nobody should steal that thoughts. All right, so I would say higher skill, not the degrees. So that's my take, and that's what I'm a strong believer of. So.
Okay. Pooja?
Yeah, so I definitely mentioned Vishwa, right? Skill is necessary, but if somebody has a right attitude and aptitude, skill can be taught, right? So that is what something I believe in.
Thank you very much, Raksha.
I think I'll say two, Vishwa. Like I said, one, the beauty of the skill-based approach is that it has to be implemented across the talent life cycle. It's not just about hiring. The second is, your EVP should be placed in a way or positioned in a way that we are hiring for the organization and not for a particular role, given the complexity and the transitions that we experience every single day now.
Absolutely. Generality?
So I would say skill-based hiring at a required competency to perform the role.
Okay, Dishank?
I would just say some of all, whatever everybody has said. Yeah, no, I think for me, it is important that we stay laser focused on business goals and outcomes, and we shouldn't carry any preconceived notions about pedigree.
Okay, last but not the least, Sudhir?
According to me, skill is all about packaging. So it's like creating a recipe, right? So it is not just saying that like one ingredient is important, rest is not. So it is all about how you package a combination of things is what your recipe of skills comes out.
Oh, very good. Actually, I wanted to talk about all of this, but then since you guys have spoken about all of this, I did not have anything else to talk about. But then it's important for all of us to embrace it, understand it, like what Saritam and I think Raksha mentioned that there was an element of do we know what we are talking about, right? I think and Anupam also spoke about it's just not one skill; it's about multiple skills. I think Sudhir, you mentioned about historical. How did it really come up, right? So I will now remember who made the first CV today, right? Now I think Dishank also spoke about elements of the entire process that we look at. I think Pooja mentioned about fellowships and all that. I think it was an interesting journey that I think I'm going through, and it's important for us to understand this. I think Chennareddy also mentioned about use of technology. While we are approaching a new problem statement, the way it is coming through, it's important for us to also ensure that we use right technology. So I think it's overall it's a great experience that I've gone through, and I'm sure everyone. And we also answered a couple of questions that we have come through. So thank you very much, Imocha and also GWFM, Parthuda and Shiva. And you did a great job in introducing myself. Thank you very much for that. And I had a technical glitch, not that I was not part of this, but then I was part of this, but then it was in another, angle together. In fact, all of the thank you very much for all of this. And, we're looking forward. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vishwanath. It was simply wonderful. And the way in which you took the panel discussion and moderated it, it was simply fantastic. And as we bring our panel discussion on skills first recruitment to a close, I want to express our sincere appreciation to all our distinguished panelists. Your wisdom, experiences, and thought-provoking ideas have truly elevated our conversation today. We are very grateful to you for your time and commitment in sharing your expertise with us. Thank you for this enriching discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Before
Thank
we
you.
wind up, if there are any questions for them, you could just look at the questions.
There's a very interesting question, the Q&A box. If somebody can read it out and just summarize it.
Yeah, whoever.
Okay, I'll read it. I'll read. This is from an anonymous attendee. Dear thought leads, since I had studied Ikigai, the Japanese framework for happy life, I thought differentiating work and life, without differentiating work and life, can we assess during talent selection process the convergence of Ikigai's 4 primary elements the job skills, role and responsibility, what you love, your passion, what the world needs, your mission, what you are good at, your vocation, and what you get paid for your profession. I do not know if the question is relevant in the context of this webinar, but how to assess Ikigai for an individual is in my mind since a long time. Please guide.
So
I can only say that this person can become a good orator, and
no,
then
I think the question is very valid to this session, and we are talking about a skill-based hiring, and we have talked about in all the recruiting professional combining more than 120, 150 years experience sitting in the Zoom call. I think what Ikigai he is referring and how to assess that part, I believe it's more of the behavior competency, how to assess what people are passionate about, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what motivates me to go to office every day. I think these are all the checks we do when we do this behavioral competency interviewing for the motivational check, for the case-based studies and do the behavioral checks and those things. So all the Ikigai particularly, yes, this can be checked, although validation is a bit problem here because it's more of a very personal stuff. But yes, those can be checked. But I would say like nowadays, people are very smart. If there is a AI to generate JD, then there's an AI to generate resume as well. So let's be a little away from all this top technical thing. But yes, Ikigai can be handled very well. And similar to that, there is also one of the French framework which is which is running parallel Ikigai. So that is the basis of all the behavioral thing. It covers that part. So yes, that can be assessed. Short answer for that.
thank you.
If I can just add another point here. If time permits, I can just add another minute here. Do we have the time, Binu?
Yes,
Yeah,
please,
you can go
please
on.
go ahead.
Looking at Ikigai, see, thing is like, if we observe this current generation, I think they have already embraced it as part of their DNA. So if you look at the current generation, they are not bothered about money or anything. If you look at the generation, how they are embracing the way how they want to take up things, I think that gives an answer to it. The way how they look at it, it's my passion. I would take it only for a reason as to why I would want to do this. And whether irrespective of whether how much you pay or not, but money also matters for them. I don't deny that, but rather a decision to continue with a job or take up a role is purely the DNA of this generation, which has really embraced Ikigai, is what I would summarize to it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. So with all your permission, we'll now move into our next segment of which is the fireside chat, right? So in this era of rapid technological advancement, the workforce landscape has become more dynamic and multifaceted than ever before. The traditional HR model, which heavily prioritized academic qualifications and standardized credentials, is proving inadequate in harnessing the true potential of a diverse and rapidly evolving workforce. As a response, the emphasis is now on redefining the way we assess, cultivate, and leverage skills in the workplace. Imocha is at the forefront of revolutionizing talent management and talent acquisition within enterprises. And we are eager to dive into their insights and the remarkable journey they've embarked on. We are privileged to host Mr. Amit D. Mishra, CEO and founder of Imocha. The host for the fireside chat is Mr. Partho Ganguly, the co-founder of GWFM. So without further delay, I would like to hand it over to Mr. Partho. Over to you, Partho.
Thank you, Vinu. Unfortunately, today seems to be a day of technical glitches. Okay. Now here the glitch is probably somewhere else, and Amit hasn't been able to join yet. Okay. So I'll take this opportunity to actually thank all of my friends who responded to my invitation to join and speak in the talent acquisition panel discussion, especially while moderating, you might have noticed Vishwanath had a very bad throat. Okay. And he also suffered a technical glitch, which was, completely unintended. But till such time, uh, he joined up. Suraj, continued the conversation, and it was wonderful. For actual digital gawars like me to hear what a digital gawar is. All right. But as soon as Amit joins in, I will start the fire and we will chat. So looking to talk to the founder of Imocha, who has so graciously supported GWFM for this event. I mean, this is a virtual conclave. I cannot clap, but yes, it's an applause that is due to Imocha and Amit and his team. Wonderful, wonderful support. Wonderful support. And we are so privileged to have Imocha as co-host of this event. So let me just take a break and check if Amit has been able to join. Sorry for the trouble.
No problem, Parthuda. While you check with Amit, perhaps we could use this time to see if there were any other questions, interesting ones, if we would like to answer or, deliberate on or, share our thoughts about. Shiva, would you like to look into the question bank?
Sorry.
Or if anyone would be happy to.
I'm audible?
There is our man. There is our man.
Hey, sorry, I was both a listener and a panelist, so I previously joined as a listener. And though I was listening to you, that I didn't join, but I was on the call.
Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today for this enlightening conversation. In fact, I have known Amit for a couple of months, but we haven't had the opportunity to actually delve into some aspects, about how Imocha from a thought to a reality. I haven't had the opportunity. So good that, we are doing this fireside chat, and let's hear what Amit tells us. There are a lot of romances in the journey of a startup. So I would probably, along with you, be feeling that. And before I start, thank you, Amit, so much for joining up, and thank you for making this event a reality. Yeah, I'm sorry. These are signatures of a person who's getting overwhelmed.
Getting older or experienced, more experienced.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just give you a brief introduction about Imocha. Imocha is actually at the forefront of revolutionizing talent management and talent acquisition within enterprises. And we are eager to dive into their insights and the remarkable journey they have embarked on. Amit, I'm really, really grateful to you for joining this chat.
Thank you so much, Parthuda, and entire HR fraternity, I would say. So those are the guys who are real hands-on and know the problems. Whatever I gathered was through my journey of a decade through Imocha, serving HR tech from talent acquisition to talent development to management. Parthuda, you would like me to start with our journey as Imocha?
Yes.
Sure.
Walk us through Imocha's initial stages and the vision that sparked the creation.
Sure. So, first of all, Imocha started with a cup of coffee. Okay, like both of us, both the founders, Sujit and me, were sitting in a local cafe coffee day shop in Pune, deciding upon our next venture after running our IT services venture in the past, and we're having a mocha coffee then. Okay, and we thought of solving interview problem then for technology industry, which was our business earlier. So we were just looking for the different website domain, and we were able to get interview mocha as the domain, and that's how iMocha was born. Even before we were able to conceptualize it, the mocha was the coffee and interview was the problem. That's how we started. Our journey started with we solving the technology recruitment problem, where we first came up with one-way interview solution, which is async interview, where a person will be asked a question on the screen and will be his responses, her responses will be recorded, and one can see it before taking them for the interview, so that only relevant candidates come to the hiring manager or the interview panel, and that saves their time. That was the intention. After doing this for a period of time, we moved into skill assessment, created the most comprehensive skill assessment solution for technology companies, 2000 plus skills, be it technology skills, be it domain skills, be it behavioral skills, be it soft skills, communication skills. We created a lot of things, and we became an interview and skill assessment company then. But over a period of time, what we realized, even like we grew with this, added, I would say 11 Fortune 500 companies under our belt, 50 plus enterprises then, got funded $14 million Series A at a very good valuation, and we were on our growth journey. But during this time, what we realized is skill assessment is just quantifying candidate or the skills of a candidate objectively only at a screening level. But the bigger problem world is facing is a skill first problem. So what does that mean? That the skills are changing faster than ever. Like if you see any industry, see the banking industry now, you can imagine banking industry as a technology company running a banking business. Bank tellers jobs are getting obsolete and getting replaced by ATMs, mobile apps, and internet banking. Same is the case with IT, same is the case with tolls and parkways even. There used to be a person who used to open the gate earlier after tendering the change to us. Now it has been replaced by RFID and technologies. So regardless of industry, whether it's a white collar, whether it's a blue collar, or whether it's an like anything, basically, it was no more a blue collar or white collar. A new collar, a collar of skills was getting introduced to the world, and we were able to identify it. Even IBM CEO that time said that there won't be any white collar, blue collar. A person will be known by a new collar. That collar will be of skill. A person will be known by the skill he or she possesses, and he will be deployed on that. And why did this happen? Because the skill advancement, the skill shelf life, which was earlier typically 2 decades, have changed to 3 to 5 years. Every 2 to 5 years, either a new version will come of a skill or altogether skill will change. So a skill has become like a mobile phone. Either you need to change it for better upgrade every 3 to 5 years, or you need to get a new phone altogether. And when we identified this problem while serving our customers, we thought of solving this problem. Already we were very rich, very comprehensive in terms of skill assessment, and we launched and we like broadened our value proposition from skill assessment to skills intelligence solution. And now we are the company which primarily for BFSI and tech create the skill architecture or skill management of the company through creating skill taxonomy, skill ontology, job architecture, related skills, adjacent skills, capabilities. Once the skill infrastructure or skill management framework is in place, we validate it through multi-channel approach. First being skill assessment, second being self-rating, manager rating, and 360-degree rating. And third one, which is very interesting, is AI inferences. So what do? We connect with all the numerous systems within your organization, be it LMS, be it LXP, be it HCM, be it employee database, be it performance management system, be it project management system. We connect to the data that are generated in the flow of the work. When employee works, get that data in for the skills and capabilities, and keep your skill inventory up to date. And once these two things are done, for employee, what is the benefit? The benefit is they can be very clear about their next best career within the organization, whether it's a horizontal upgrade or whether it's a vertical elevation, but they are very clear about it. Then for employee, we provide them the personalized learning paths with the skills intelligence, so that they need not invest waste, I would say, hundreds of hours in learning everything, but they need to learn what matters the most for getting into a new role, elevated role. So this is for employee. For L&D, how we help is we help them finding out the skill gap analysis, training need identification, training ROI, return on investment, finding out the skills benchmarking. And to business, we help them in better internal mobility decisions, better talent workforce deployment. And this is about the talent development and talent management part of it. For recruitment, we have a lot of AI technology to find out the AI skill match, where a person once applied to one job, we can tell quantifiable in a quantifiable manner which all jobs that person suits to, and accordingly the person gets a wider need to cast, and that's a better and more accurate recruitment. So this has been our journey so far, in terms of started with humble start of 2 people, now 200 plus people team, mostly in India, followed by a few people in US, one in Singapore, one in Dubai, one in London, one in France, and recent one is in Philippines.
You shut me up. I had prepared so many questions. You shut me up. But awesome.
Sorry
I love
if I
it.
did.
No. That's brilliantly said. Brilliantly said. You know, when you were speaking, I thought, let me not interrupt you with questions, because that passion reflects when you talk about the company and the product. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So basically, one more point, I think it will probably help people understand better. In any success stories that you would like to share? Any success stories that stand out in terms of the talent acquisition domain or the talent development domain? Any major success stories? It will be ideal to hear all of that.
Sure. So there are like from business perspective, there are quite a few success stories that varies from talent acquisition. In talent acquisition, even campus hiring as well as lateral hiring, to upskilling requirement, training ROI and all. But I'll tell you an interesting success story where we were able to serve entire bank. Okay. So this is Middle East Bank. I won't name it, but it's a quite significant 5,000-6,000 plus 8,000 close to employees bank in Middle East, which got an external agency, I would say Big Four, one of the Big Four, to transition them for the skill first organization workforce transformation. And though they became a digital bank, they digitized it to level max possible. But after 2 years, 3 years, they were able to transition into a digital banking, digital first banking. They were able to reduce the branches and invest more in technology and stuff like that. But while doing this activity, there were close to 2,000 plus consultant or the people on contract who were become an integral part of the organization. So after 2 to 3 years of Big Four and a consulting and IT consulting thing, though they were able to digitally transform that bank, but they had 2,000 people outside of the bank who were responsible for this, but it was not build, operate, and transfer. And the bank was in a mode that they need to, and it's a Middle East bank where labor rules are very strict. You have created a parallel line to our employees, but we don't know how to get that knowledge inside the organization and what to do with are 2,500 guys who are working on something or other. And then with one of the big four, we implemented a skills intelligence solution where they got to know, first of all, where skill resides within their organization. We transform every job role within their organization into a skill profile, skill capability profile, adjacencies, job architecture, able to find out who are the guys who needs to be upskilled. And now we were in the second year of their implementation, and we are able to successfully get almost 650 people redeployed into a newer job role, because many times digitization, AI, workforce transformation happens. For some job roles, it gives empowerment and you need to upskill a little. Some job, it is absolutely a major change. You need to learn newer things for workforce transformation. Some jobs is absolute, but there are few jobs which gets created. So for this bank, from talent acquisition to talent development to talent management, in between L&D, workforce planning, internal mobility, we were able to provide a solution. And it was with one of the big four. There's a PR even on the same. And I was very happy that we were able to solve majority of the problem. So whenever we solve it, I'm not saying that it's only Imocha which solves it. So we connect with the likes of SAP SuccessFactors, Oracle, or Workday for it. We connect with their employee database. We connect with their learning system. We connect with their internal mobility system. We connect with their employee system, performance management, and empower as a skills intelligence player for taking the right decision. And we were able to help them from pin to piano, I would say, as far as talent life cycle is concerned when it comes to skills intelligence. And that brought us into a limelight of SAP SuccessFactors even, and there was a lot of mention from SAP SuccessFactors influencers for Imocha for that. So I consider that to be biggest success in enterprise, where we transformed a bank into skill first.
Awesome. I was also I had also heard about this European automotive leader who with Imocha managed to evaluate over 1,500 candidates in just 7 days.
Yeah. So it's just a public case study, so I can take the name even. It's Aston Martin, which we helped in doing what you are saying, like.
My God! So you reached up to the James Bond's vehicle, right?
Yeah, I got
Wonderful, Amit. Wonderful.
I got a chance to visit their factory where their one car will be used only once, and I got a lot of pictures there.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence at today's Fireside Chat. You know how fireside chats happen, right? You have a fireplace, but if you have a person like Amit with you, you don't need the fire. He is the fire himself. His dedication and innovative spirit are shaping the future of talent management and acquisition. Should you have any questions or wish to connect further, Amit will welcome your inquiries and discussions. We appreciate your attention and look forward to welcoming you at the future events. Thank you so much, Amit, once again, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you, everyone, all the talent leaders. We have learned directly, indirectly, meeting you in person, few of you during my journey, and thanks a lot. I take this liberty to thank you on this platform too. Thanks all my HR friends and talent leaders.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you. God bless.
Wow, that was simply wonderful. Thank you so much, Parthoda and Mr. Amit Mishra. It's simply amazing and interesting to know how a cup of coffee has fueled such an interesting and an innovative startup, Imocha, right? Thanks so much for sharing your story, your journey, the offerings that you have, and an insight into one of your success stories. And the interesting term that I liked to pick from what you said was the pin to piano, right? That is definitely an interesting one. And as we conclude our fireside chat with Mr. Amit D. Mishra, CEO and founder of Imocha, and Mr. Partho Ganguly, who's the co-founder of GWFM, I want to express our deepest appreciation. Amit's visionary leadership and Parthoda's skillful moderation have made this conversation truly memorable. Your expertise and wisdom have undoubtedly enriched our understanding. Thank you both for your outstanding contribution and for this fantastic fireside chat. It was really igniting, thought-provoking. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now present to you the final panel discussion of the evening on skills ontology mapping the skill ecosystem. Skills ontology is a transformative force in learning and talent development, offering a strategic framework for organizations to navigate the complexities of the modern workforce. As organizations increasingly recognize the value of skills ontology, it emerges as a cornerstone in building agile, skilled, and future-ready workforces. In the context of learning and talent development, skills ontology serves as a powerful tool that fundamentally transforms the way organizations identify, nurture, and leverage the skills of their workforce. This panel would be moderated by Mr. Surya Prakash Mohapatra, Global Head of Talent Transformation at Wipro Digital Operations and Platforms. Mr. Surya Prakash Mohapatra boasts over 25 years of leadership experience in prominent IT and ITES firms, with a background including roles at HP, Microland, and others. Mr. Surya has excelled in establishing and managing learning and development functions globally. Notably, he pioneered the setup of Wipro's BPO's global training functions across multiple international locations. Mr. Surya is recognized for his innovative approach to learning practices and technology integration, enhancing learning effectiveness and user experience. At HP, he spearheaded strategies for career development and talent management, contributing significantly to HP's Charisma program and receiving industry accolades for his initiatives. A sought-after speaker, Mr. Surya frequently addresses national and international forums on HR learning and development. His articles are published in various journals and magazines. He also serves on the editorial board for the L&D community's quarterly e-magazine, E-Akshara. I would like to request Mr. Mohapatra to invite the panelists for this session. I also would like to request the audience to share their questions on the chat, and the moderator would pass it on to the panelists to whom it is addressed. So, ladies and gentlemen, over to Mr. Surya Mohapatra.
Thank you very much, Binu, for introducing me and for setting the context for this beautiful panel discussion, which is coming up now. And we have picked up a very, very interesting topic. This skills ontology, mapping the skill ecosystem. We have been talking about the importance of skills in organizations, how skills have become the new currency. We have talked about how organizations are really working towards, making sure that they identify the right skills, they attract talent with the right skills, they're able to retain talent with the right skills, they're able to develop talent with the right skills, and continuously map skills to demand and the future requirement and so on. So without much ado, I would like to introduce a few tall leaders from HR and L&D fraternity who are going to be part of this panel today. I would like to invite Soumya Ashwath, Vice President, Global Human Resources, State Street. Soumya, if you can just say hi. We have Yogesh, who is the Global Leader, People Success, First Source Solutions Limited. We have yet another tall leader, Rangarajan Subramanian, Head of People, Performance and Culture and Diversity, SMEC. We have Vikas Dubey, General Manager, Human Resources, WNS. We have Meena, a very well-known face in the HR fraternity. And also I have been with her in various HR conferences as co-panelist. So we have with her today from the Northern Trust Corporation. We had another gentleman who was supposed to join, who's not able to join today because he's, suddenly fell ill. But nevertheless, I think we have an illustrious panel, and we will engage in a very interesting dialogue, and we'll try to bring out the best from our panelists. So I would like to request each one of them to tell a little bit more about themselves, their background, their experience in about 30 seconds or so that the audience gets to know them better. Then we'll get going with our discussion. So Soumya, if you'd like to go first, and then quickly give an intro about yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Surya. Hi, all of you. Happy to be here. Happy to meet some of my, friends from the industry again. Part of State Street currently in the last, I think, 2 decades, I have spent my time with 3 organizations, predominantly as an HR business partner. However, I currently am part of talent enablement organization. I do an extremely interesting work. I say that myself because I'm doing something, pretty innovative with the, talent organization with State Street. Trying to kind of build in enablement processes. So that's really me.
Yogesh, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So 23 plus years in talent and organization development. That's my experience. And I've worked with the organizations like Societe Generale Global Solutions Center, AXA Business Services, Barclays Technology Group, First American Corporation, and currently with First Source. Interested and passionate about people development. That's all about my career statement as well. But I really enjoy the journey, keeping myself updated with what's happening in the industry, contributing and sharing back with the industry folks. That's all about me.
Vikas, you want to go next?
Hey, thank you all, and thank you this platform to join in. And it's really delighted to meet you all virtually. I think I met with Yogesh, Surya, and all in the previous one, but it was really nice. And thank you, Parthoda, for giving this platform to all of us to talk about. And now coming to my profile, I have been into the L&D in the space for, I think, 17 plus years of experience. And mostly I've been looking into the technical role of L&D. So my journey towards L&D is more into the technology side, wherein I can give some insights to all you folks here. And apart from that, I have been worked into various industries, like in Honeywell, which is into aerospace. I have heard Airbus and Boeing were there. So it is really nice to see those folks from the HR fraternity who have been here in this discussion and really taken their inputs. Plus, somewhere or the other, I have also worked with Wipro, but did not meet Surya sir during that time. But we have been associated with the organization during that time. So the journey has been already mostly into the technical roles. So I'll be highlighting some tech L&D perspective, which will help to all our audience today here. Thank you, and thank you for giving this opportunity.
I think our other panelist, Vikas, is yet to join. Probably he will join us.
Yeah, we have 2 Vikas, right?
2 Vikas, yes. He will probably join it while, I think,
the other Vikas, Surya calls himself Vikash.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think he probably had an important meeting that came up all of a sudden, and then he had to kind of attend to that. But we hope to have him soon in this discussion. So skills ontology is a new development in the industry. And if you remember, in the earlier days, HR professionals would spend hours together to find out, to understand the relationships between skills, to define skill clusters, to identify the people with right skills, and so on. Today, this framework, skills ontology and skills taxonomy, powered by artificial intelligence, powered by technology, has made it really simple. And it has made it more accurate, a seamless process, and it is a boon for employees, for individuals, as well as for employers. So we will dive deep into this. We will try and understand what is this all about, how organizations are effectively implementing skills ontology as a framework, what are the challenges today, and how we can overcome the challenges and move forward. These are some of the issues that we would like to dive deeper as we go into this discussion. I would like to start with my first question by asking this question to Samya. And my question is, what organizations are doing today, or how are organizations approaching development of skills ontology, and what outcomes we have observed? If you can throw some light on that question.
Sure, Surya. I think from a industry standpoint, I could say, in my discussions with some of my peers, the current ecosystem, we're all discussing largely deployments, and I think one of the most effective ways for us to be able to engage our talent and manage the talent has been through internal mobility, right? And in my sense, I think one of the things that's prominent today is just the whole skill as a discussion is not just with the organizations providing that to talent, but talent themselves utilizing it as well. I think that's the change I see, because there's so much more value today in both of them coming together and being aligned on this idea of having a lateral movement, and that can only happen with skills. I think that's the major shift I am seeing today, because especially in the end of last year and the beginning of this year, as we've started the year, the only thing that we're discussing today is how do we better utilize the talent within the organization. There's a lot of alignment between skills and succession planning. Well, these concepts have always been there. I think today I see this spoken in unison. And I think the outcome that we're seeing is, like I said, a value that not just organizations will offer, but talent will see it as a more sustained benefit that organizations are providing.
Wonderful. I think that's a beautiful context setting about how really organizations and talent are benefiting from effective, seamless skills mapping, enabling internal mobility, enabling rotation, enabling progression, and all of that. I would also like to request Yogesh if he can also share his perspective on this.
Right. I think building on what Soumya said, the organizations have the challenge to not only hire people externally, but also to give career paths to people internally. And that time it becomes very important. Are we really gearing about people in the right direction for the future skills? And what kind of skills exist? Because when people were hired, many organizations captured their initial skills, but over the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, what has happened to the skills of people? That taxonomy or that kind of a repository has to be created. Many organizations struggle with that, but the organizations that are effective in skill ontology practices ensure that this repository is updated. And another important thing to be dealt with in this activity is the standardization, because the same skill is called differently, or it is called complex, mid-complex, simple. Those kinds of challenges are to be dealt with, so that we know that if Soumya is there, if Yogesh is there, Bikash is there, if they're working in the same client process, okay, what kind of skill level they're operating with, even if the skill looks superficially we can say, yeah, it is the same complex skill, but actually when you go deeper, there are different things. So I think the organizations have to really map the skills carefully. And most importantly, in line with this, they have to bring all the stakeholders from the various departments together. They have to, for example, even today, some terminologies are not understood uniformly within the same organization, right? So that has to be brought up to the forefront, and everybody has to agree on the standard definition. Once this is done, then the skill gap analysis has to happen. Okay, and of course, sometimes when we hire people from the industry standard terminologies, practices also need to be considered because, for example, when we compare salaries for the comp and ben surveys, right? What skill is called in one organization could be different in the other. And when we try to make justice to this, again, it brings that kind of discrepancy. Skill in BPO versus technology versus what you call research and analytics, all those organizations may have different terminology. So that need to be brought into the front face, I would say. And these are the practices one has to bring in, because otherwise there are many biases. I've met some people who just call their organization skills as very complex, but actually it is not. Or sometimes some people think, why can't they hire people easily? There is so much talent outside there, but their requirement could be complex. So all these things can be dealt more effectively if the organizations start looking at skills in this context. Some of the perspectives we'll explore more as we talk in the panel further.
Wonderful. I think you have talked about the challenges, the element of bias that exists, and how the same skills could be very different in the context of different industries, BPO versus IT versus healthcare, and so on. This is an interesting perspective. I think this framework will be able to bring in that standardization, not only within the organization but across industry. Vikas, would you like to throw some light before we move on to the next question?
Yes, Surya, thank you. So from my perspective, I think we have been implemented the skill taxonomy. So whether it is an autonomy or a taxonomy, so we have been deep dive all this journey of the skills which is available in the fintech companies, because the company currently I'm into, it is a fintech company. So when we look into the skills and the skills mapped with the competitor skills, or like Yogesh was talking about, the same skill can be recognized or called into a different way and all. So from that perspective, so we identified all our skills, and it took more than a year for us, or I'll say more than 1.5 years for us to identify the skills. And by the time, a surprising fact, by the time we completed our skill taxonomy, some of the skills is already absolute, because in the 1.5 years, it is a complete shift has been happened in the industry. So that was a really challenging for us. And then we again go back, understand from the business managers why it has been is not been done properly, or is there anything we can do or add on. Like, it's all the internal mobility, whether it is it's all about the hiring spree we are looking at the various platforms. So being a fintech company, we have been hiring from various platforms. Like, sometimes we hire a lot of veteran guys from different defense background. Sometimes we do women in technology, so we go to those forums and hire folks as well to for the diversity ratio perspective. So we'll deep dive, as you guys was talking, we'll be more talking about what the challenges we have been facing in each of our industries. But I'll say on the ontology, every organization should aspect or should be accepting this down the line, either taxonomy or the ontology. So that's where my points boiled down to here, Surya.
So which one would you recommend, ontology or taxonomy?
So current my organization is doing taxonomy. So
Okay.
so I don't know whether ontology is the same platform we will look around, or how it will be different and all. I understand the theoretical description of both, but it all depends on the org to look around it.
Right. Thank you, Vikas, for your insights. Friends, we have another panelist, Meena, who has joined. Meena is the Senior Vice President, Human Resources, Northern Trust. Meena, yes, we can see her. Thank you for joining. So would you like to, so we had a brief introduction. The panelists kind of briefly talked about themselves. So if you just take a quick 30 seconds and talk a little bit more about yourself, then we get going.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Surya, and apologies for being a bit late. So I've been with Northern Trust now for about 3 years and come with close to over 2 decades of experience across HR, talent management, learning, leadership, setting up COEs and the like. So very, very happy to be here with all of you and very happy to see the trends. And I was listening to Yogesh, I was listening to Saumya, I was listening to Vikash, and very, very lovely to see the interesting perspectives this panel is bringing to the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Meena. I will ask my second question, and we are just trying to slowly build up, I think, from a very high level view, slowly get into more. We'll do a little bit of a deep dive. So next question is building on the first one. And we talk about skills, ontology, and taxonomy at a high level. But I would like to hear from you if you can share some examples of successful implementation of skills mapping initiatives in the industry in various organizations. I know some of you would be very shy of talking about your organization because of obvious reasons. But as practitioners, if you can share, what are the best in class organizations doing in that space? Any examples would be helpful. We can start with Soumya, if you would like to take a stab at it.
Absolutely. I think in my past experience as an HR business partner, I think most often one of the effective ways for us to have tapped into a good talent has been through internal talent marketplace. And I think you mentioned example, and one of the first things that I could safely talk about is I'm a good example of, who moved up and had a great career progression through a very supported, skills program that my previous organization had, right? So I think typically what I've seen is succession planning at some level becomes discussion about the person and the position. But there I did see a great example of how succession planning was more about not just today, but a future role of, making that particular position more effective. I think that's where I've seen a great example of how this probably, kind of worked. Well, having said that, I think I like to say that there's so much more that we can do in that area. There's a huge opportunity out there. I think we've just kind of scratched the surface at this point. That's me.
Sure. No, that's interesting. And I liked your own personal example. That's a live example.
I could not agree more with Soumya. And again, going back to a couple of organizations behind, I think those days it was not called skills taxonomy, skills ontology. We've evolved as a group. I think as a team here, we've evolved looking at multiple versions of the terminologies that we have used and the place that we have landed today. And I think the big shift is how effectively skills were knit in the past and how effectively skills are knit even today. And that remains relevant. But what is shifting is how technology is impacting and how in the days of yore, technology was perhaps only an Excel sheet and you would go deep diving into the skills. But today you see AI playing a major role in many of the tools that have evolved in the world. And I think so, identifying skill gaps or building successor pools as part of talent management is becoming a lot more easier, while looking at skill gaps for building capability, which is not only current, but also required for the future. So that's the shift that I've experienced across organizations. Both have had success stories then and now. The context has changed. The way we have managed change has changed. Everybody was in the room then. Today it can be done remote. So many things have shifted, but I think the way skills are viewed, seen, called, they will continue to remain the core of any organization even in the future.
Absolutely, Meena. I think skills mapping always existed, but now technology has given it a new flavor, made it more seamless,
yes,
and more just in time.
Absolutely.
Yogesh, would you like to throw some light on any industry example that you would like to share?
I think in the BFSI industry where I worked, many times people looked at it as a taxonomy in the beginning. These are the 10 different skills we need. Nobody thought, or very few people could think that there is some general or common underlying skill everywhere that needs to be something we can say is the base for everybody, or at least there are 3-4 big categories we can make. And when people are to be trained internally within those categories, then there could be succession or layering. Okay, we build on this, or this is vertical, or this is horizontal, or sometimes there can be an enriched way somebody can learn all 3-4 skills and can become a master in that particular category of skills. Another thing is to see that if these are the core skills across those 3 or 4 different categories, getting people upskilled or cross-skilled across that can create a good talent pool. And many trainers or HR or L&D professionals miss this insight for whatever reasons, because the organizations grew suddenly and everybody just focused on hiring and managing. But when the talent crunch happened, then everybody started looking within, and then they had these kinds of discussions. An important challenge with this whole thing is sometimes, even if I am cross-skilled, will my manager release me? So there is a culture also how to use skill taxonomy or ontology effectively, because everybody wants to hold on to their talent, right? So doing this exercise, as Bikash, you said 1.5 years, okay, it is done. And now what to do with this talent? Because there has to be an outcome, right? And that kind of mindset start with this organizational goal that we want the talent to be fungible across the organization. In one of the organizations where I work, they said that each talent in the company is the property of the organization and not of the department or that manager or that leader. And therefore, if anybody applies for an IGP or if anybody wants to learn any skill, upskilling, cross-skilling, it is voluntary as part of the career development. I think these are some of the implications I wanted to share, because when you open this, it's like a Pandora's box for the organization. Any HR activity, therefore, has implications on others, right?
This reminds me of the Uberization of talent supply chain, where it's like, you have an access to a driver who is around, and the driver also has access to prospective customers. So everybody has access on the platform, and it's the manager doesn't decide what is good or bad for the employee. It's the employee who decides what he or she wants to do. And we'll have to create, as HR and as leadership teams, we have to create that ecosystem and enable that, which means more power to everybody. Of course, there are certain guidelines and framework, but essentially everybody is empowered to identify, to have complete access and visibility, and then make judicious decisions. I think that's important. Ranga, would you like to just share anything on this before we move on to our next question?
Yeah, right. So we were talking about some of the relevant industry examples where we're using skill taxonomy and skills ontology. So I just wanted to share some light on that. So I belong to an engineering services consulting firm, and traditionally the skills that were used in creating engineering construction designs is more revolved around your CAD, computer aided design. But today we've got a lot of technology options and a lot of tools which have come through to create these designs in a much more intuitive way. While the existing resource is trying to just cope up, our firm has created a wonderful platform called Adapt. And this Adapt is based on the skills ontology, wherein we are looking at all the skills which is required for a person to create designs based on different infrastructure. So the design tool which is used in the water infrastructure is very different from what it is used in the transportation infrastructure versus energy infrastructure. So when you clearly classify this, it gives you a beautiful outcome of how one skill is related to each other and how a person with one skill can learn another skill easily. So this Adapt program not only upskills people technically, it also upskills a person from a workplace readiness and effectiveness standpoint. So it's a combination. We bring in people into the organization, and we train them on multiple softwares and tools, and we cross deploy them in various projects from time to time within the first 12 months. And the success this program has led is, traditionally 2 years it used to take for a fresher to come join and then get upskilled and become a billable resource. Today, the application of this program, ADAPT, has helped us in deploying a person in just 6 months of training and to become a billable resource. So that's an example I wanted to share. Thank you.
Oh, that's a great example. And you also talked about how skills are related, and then how can we leverage transferable skills so that
yes,
people in one role can learn and then start performing another role, another job, and so on. I think very useful insight, Ranga here. So panelist, I would move to the next question. We're again going a little deeper. And this question is, what are the key considerations for organizations looking to integrate skills ontology with their talent management practices? Soumya, if you would like to take a stab at it.
Well, I think for me, again, largely today, if I take HR as an example, as much as, we do have COE structures in most organizations, and a lot of new HR professionals are coming out to kind of, be part of specific COEs and, go deep into probably a talent acquisition or a learning organization. I think today it's more broader, right? And that's basically the entire talent management cycle, where something's applicable, in all spectrum, and you value that, experience and the skill set throughout. I think that's the way I see it. Probably mentioned HR because that's closer home, but that's how I kind of see it panning out as we go into it.
Absolutely. I think the shift that you talked about is real. Meena, would you like to share your perspective on this? What are the key considerations? Meena, I think you are speaking on mute. We can't hear you.
Is it, am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, it was echoing, so I put myself on mute. Okay, so I think again, Surya, if I were to take a step back and reflect on what are the key things that we need to be considering while we implement skills ontology, or if you're considering the process in an organization, I would probably bucket those considerations into 4. And I would say one is data. And when I say data, it is about the quality of skill data we have in the organization. Are we having consistent data, or has this shifted over a period of time, and are we keeping track of that? But more importantly, the availability of data itself, right? Where is it hosted? Is it available in the right place at the right time for us to be using for multiple pieces of the employee life cycle, right? Whether it is talent acquisition, whether we are looking at capability building through learning, or we are looking at talent management, particularly building successor pools, or looking at skills and capabilities for top talent, etc. The second part of it is skill itself. I don't know if it was Bikash who was talking about complexity of skills, right? I mean, how complex have we made it such that managers don't even want to use it? So have we kept that aspect in mind to say, how simple is my data for a user, for the end user? It's not for HR. So how simple is it that the person wants to adopt? And I'm coming from a change management lens here as we talk this, right? And the second piece of it is, how consistently are we going back to the data to really see the shifts? Or have we kept a 1984 data set still, and we are assuming that those skills are relevant, and we are still mapping people to those? Of course, maybe, with recency, maybe 5-10% of the skills will get added. But what about the 80%, which is probably not relevant anymore? So are we really going back to that? The third is, of course, the process itself. And I think it was Yogesh who was talking about biases, right? And I would say biases of 2 kinds. So biases in terms of the talent person who has defined, or whoever has defined those capabilities, and how those those skill definitions and descriptions have come, to managerial biases who would have been part of the project team while defining it, to the people who are using it and understanding it totally differently because they are not having enough awareness about it. The second piece of it is more around process bias itself, right? How have we gone about the whole process and ensured that there is a consistency in the way we are defining it across? So I would say the third piece is around the process. And the fourth one in my mind is about people themselves, because they are the ones who are going to be using it. So have we really got them to become aware of these skills? How taxonomy is, or an ontology is actually expressed in the days of today? Are they completely familiar, even when they kind of use it for a variety of processes across the talent cycle? And I think more importantly, it's about continuous awareness that you can create, continuous education, consistently going back to, making skills taxonomy a cultural and an integrated element of capability within an organization. So I think if we're able to really touch upon these four elements of data, of skill, of considerations of people and process biases, I think we should be able to kind of really make this a smooth journey for everyone around. The most critical part is, gone are the days when we have one successor and we're building one skill. Today we have shifted. We are saying it's a successor pool. And therefore, what do these pools of people require in terms of skills, and how fungible are these skills? And therefore, no longer is it a skill to skill ontology. No longer is it a role to skill ontology, but we're looking at a skill to skill ontology and the atomic part of everything, right? So I think that's how I would think of how this is mapping out in the talent space, Surya.
Fantastic. I think like the four key elements that you talked about: data, skills, processes, and people. That's absolutely important. And the other important thing that you called out, it's no longer role to skills, it's skills to skills as well. I think that's the complexity today. Yogesh, if you'd like to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I think Ina covered very important aspects. I would just like to add a few more things, probably build on those. Quality of data when we're managing skills is very important. Where our people stand, because different certifications from different organizations, for example, when somebody supports their evidence of skill, unless there is an assessment and development center in the company, it's very difficult to pinpoint where the person stands. But at least somewhere we should have that beginning of the repository. We can check when the actual requirement is in place. So that is one key point I wanted to bring in: standardization within the organization, or connect with the industry. I brought this up earlier. It came up earlier, but we should be always mindful that this is a very agile activity. It's a dynamic platform that we are building on, and there is nothing like, so that's why whenever I do any Excel sheets, I always say as of this date, because it's always this, and I put it in red color. People should know that it was 6 months old. After that, many things would have changed. Everywhere we need to have that timestamp. And I mentioned earlier also the culture and the organizational goal related focus is very important. What do we want to do with this? Sometimes some people say we need to have it, but why? Sometimes the leaders move on, and those leaders who started the project may not be there. The alignment of the others, the buy-in has to be there, that we do this to achieve this, and therefore we need to have this culture to, and where we want to apply this, where we want to make it successful. Therefore, what kind of mindset shifts are required? That is a very important consideration. Otherwise, it just remains as one of the projects, and lots of effort go into that, right? Meetings after meetings and reviews and all that. So that is important. And when it comes to culture, two key points: that when this is being done, of course, we have to integrate it across all the processes, right? It cannot stay only with the hiring or talent management. It has to go across every aspect of, for example, succession planning or performance management. Are there right weights for certain skills, or how we're looking at all these things? And a very important point, the TA panel talked about it, that we should not only focus on skills, but aptitude as well. So when you do this, we should also think of the soft skills, for example, communication, leadership skills, or problem solving skills. These competencies, once upon a time, we used to have competency mapping and like beginner, advanced, proficient, right? So we should know that for this particular role, alongside this, there is interconnection with the other skill. For example, if I'm an underwriter, my communication skills, written communication skills also need to at that level. So that kind of interconnection needs to be brought in. It is not like, okay, communication skills, it is oral or written. Is this person in the back end processing or directly communicating to the client front end? And level of English. So all these things need to be brought into this interconnected complexity of skills. And we need to train people for how they're supposed to use skill ontology, because people come from different organizations, new people, or those who are in different roles. They need to know how to use this, because and how to contribute to maintaining that, right? Because, okay, something is changing in my sphere of work. I need to share something back in the updation, I would say, right? And what is happening outside in the industry is also very important. While we focus on doing everything internally, these are the 5 divisions of businesses, these are the skills, but hey, what is happening, right? And constantly keeping in touch with the industry or industry developments, bringing that focus in our way of working is here, like it is 3.5 out of 5, but industry is at 4.5, where we are going. I think these are some of the perspectives that could be of important consideration, I felt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You are bang on. I think some of the challenges that I see at the moment is when we talk about communication skills, somebody understands this as interpersonal skills. Somebody understands this as ability to influence. Somebody understands it as something else. I think standardization is a big challenge. I'm also seeing, with the evolution of technology, skill identification is not just in the hands of the employee or the manager. Now the tools can retrieve skills information from social media platforms, from LinkedIn or from other platforms, and then can bring it all together in addition to what the employee provides or what the manager provides. I think it's evolving. So this question actually sets the stage for the next important question, because all of you are tall leaders and futurists, right? So my question to you would be, what trends that you are seeing in this space? How is this skill mapping evolving in the future, and what are the new trends you anticipate? I would like to start by asking this question to Bikash, then probably Soumya, if you can share your perspective.
Okay. So from my perspective, as we all know that every organization has broadly this kind of 3 skills, which we say business or domain skills, which the industry works around. And then there is a horizontal skill, which is about the professional, behavioral, along with the technical skills. So these are the 3 major, or I will say the rectangle or the pyramid of the skills which we look around. And when I look into the professional skill, I know you folks have quite spoken about it. It is very hard to get into, because it's very difficult to bring those traits on the individual or the behavioral aspects. But now, if I do a little bit shift towards the technology side, where I have some experience, so it is day in and day out is very challenging, because every organization or every industry has embraced technology from left to right. Now, if I look into the L&D space, which I'm talking about, or if I remember earlier days are like, we are looking for a HR folk with just HR knowledge or an OD and all. But today there are roles coming up. We say that HR with data analytics. So you can see a lot of business schools or this IITs or triple ITs have been programming those kind of sessions. Now there might be a chances the trend would go very fast. Today, I'm just thinking, I think Suraj was talking in the beginning of the session from Airbus, if I'm not wrong. So he was talking about L&D architect. So down the line, there won't be chances like, we can say that we are looking somebody who is into the L&D space, kind of a L&D scientist, or we can say that we need an L&D folk with system intelligence. So these are some of the skills which I feel can be coming up, because the way AI is revolving today in every field. So today an L&D folk should have these system intelligence to know it. What are the AI tools you have been using in the L&D space, and then tomorrow you will have all these prominent industries coming back saying that this tool is from SAP, or I'll say name it, this tool is from Oracle, or some of our industry folks, or they might have designed their own internal tools if if that's kind of agility will bring into here. So the skill trend is quite changing very fast when technology has been stapled towards that, but it is very, I will say very dangerous to talk about the trend where we are going to land up. But nevertheless, when it comes to professional and business skills, mostly I feel there is hardly any changes in down the line of the trends. But yes, which has been shadowed with technology. Yes, today we have AI, tomorrow we might have robotics, so tomorrow we might have VR, all these things. So there might be some. I was reading an article where it is talking about today we are doing hybrid classes, both virtual and in person. So down the line, we should have virtual, in person, and VR. So we should need an L&D folk who can have all these skills to handle those programs. So imagine a 40 hours program can be spread across 2 days in person, 2 days virtual, or I'll say with a VR capability, you will be at your home and then using those VR devices and taking those sessions or having those sessions. And then the last session may be a networking session, connecting with all your leaders and how. So there might be any changes happens when technology is revolving so fast. So that is what my perspective here. Back to Surya on this.
No, I think great examples, because, and especially, I think the point around multiple specializations that you talked about, which is the need of the hour. And you give the example of a L&D architect, for example, or we talk about a data scientist for health industry. Not a generic skill, but I think we need more and more professionals with multiple skills, and we also need to build an ecosystem which enables that. I will request Soumya if you can also share your thoughts on this question.
Because just added a skill that I need to probably add to my list. VR. I only know the fun part of it. So yeah, I think I surely am going to take away for today. But I think a couple of us already touched upon this. But as a future, I do see some skills that are non-negotiable apart from everything we discussed, right? And some, I do believe some of these skills are more practice-based. I think all of us have some responsibility to keep adding this in everything we do, like cognitive flexibility, judgment and decision making. These are transferable. It's just applicable in anything you do in life or work, right? Emotional and social intelligence. These are already picking up, but I see this needing more as we go into future. Digital literacy is right there, but how do we build some of these others? Also, because I think with some of the experiences we have, with the younger professionals coming in, are they just so proficient at using, some of the tools and the opportunity they may get to make a decision, be there from an emotional support standpoint, could be a slightly not in the first couple of years. But how do we start to use that time to build? I think is something that's picking up. Also, because mental wellness is spoken so much, it's the need of the hour, and all of this is going to come together. So I see as a future trend these skills, that becomes part of, all that we're doing today, and how are we going to kind of bring this into, the skill mapping, the technology that we are talking about, and the entire, talent aspect itself. So that's my view.
Great. Thank you, Soumya. Meena, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think I'll take a contrary take to everybody here and say maybe we'll go back to grandma, if I were to call it, and say we will simplify many of these things. So as humankind, we have a great ability to complicate and then find solutions to simplify. So I think we are going that path slowly and we are moving to the skill complexity. And suddenly one fine day, all of us in this room, inclusive, will realize that we have complicated it so much that we need to simplify. So I think there'll be some role called a simplifier who will come into existence and who will start decoding everything and say, come back to basics and back to grandma. That's one part of my mind as I was listening to all of us. The second is, I think, on a very serious note, no organization should ideally get into doing something like what Yogesh said for fad. is it really important for you? Is it really needed for you? Don't do something because something else is happening along the journey. And the third one, I think, in terms of skills, will be along with your AI, HR, VR, we will start looking at humanness. We will start looking at Spartanism. And I heard, one particular hotel in the US is kind of looking at a very Spartan environment to where CEOs go and they really relax, paying a bomb. So I think we will also get there in terms of skills. We will pay a bomb to simplify the processes we've done. We will undo a lot of it. That's my take, though it is controversial.
Oh, this is interesting, Meena. Ranga, you have raised your hand. I think you probably would like to add something.
Yeah. So we spoke a lot that these skills ontology is something that's very dynamic and it's always evolving. It is going to be a huge challenge for organizations to keep up to the pace and upskill their people from time to time. I foresee that the organizations will do more tie-ups with credentialing platforms and platforms that can upskill their people from time to time, like a LinkedIn Learning or Udemy, which can probably give badges to people, can certify people from time to time to continuously validate the skills that they are acquiring or continuously validate the upgradation of their skills. So this is a trend that I foresee that is going to pick up in the advent of skills taxonomy and ontology.
Oh, wonderful. So this also reminds me, Ranga, about, I think I just read about it, that the IITs and ISC are coming together to offer a suite of courses, and the credits earned by a student in any of the universities will also be accepted by other universities.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think there are interesting trends which are coming up. I think when we talked about credentialing, tie up with credentialing platforms, I think I got reminded about this. I think I think the whole ecosystem is becoming more inclusive, and they're becoming an enabler of skilling rather than kind of creating silos.
Right.
Wonderful perspective. I think very, very interesting perspectives coming up in this conversation. I see that the number of people in the audience is kind of decreasing because I believe, folks have been there since 3 o'clock,
3 p.m.
and it has been a long session. We would move towards a last question. Then I will open it up for a couple of audience questions. So my last question is kind of building on what we have said so far. So as industry thought leaders, what would be your advice to organizations embarking on this journey, the journey of developing their own skills ontology? What would you advise them?
I would say two things.
Yep.
I'll jump in first.
Sure.
I think we need to look at simplicity and scalability at the end of the day. So don't overcomplicate the process, the thinking, keep a system view, because today with so much specialization, we can only hope that we also don't start so much of granular specializations that we forget the organizational as a whole. So basically, how are we retaining the system perspective as we are developing and building these capabilities? And second, is it scalable? Whatever we are doing in the context of today, in the context of tomorrow, are we keeping it fluid? At least some amount fluid, so that we can adapt to the changes instead of starting from scratch. So those will be my two takeaways for a future organization.
Absolutely. So stick to the basics. That's what you were saying, Meena.
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate things.
Just to add to that, as we simplify, I think we should not forget the basic thing. Sometimes we motivate people, create IDPs, and talk about continuous learning, lifelong learning. People learn a lot, but what do we do with this learning, right? People have been learning, and there is a lot of IDP completed. So are we taking a look at how we are leveraging the skills and keeping these people motivated? I've seen many people doing 5 to 10 programs. Okay, it's controversial, one should not do that. But okay, year after year, they're doing these programs, but are they really building the skills? Are they getting the opportunity to apply the skills? Are they becoming part of some cross-functional projects where they can at least be passive or active somewhere to see that, hey, I learned something. I remember in one of the companies, my team member said that he's interested in talent management a lot. And he said, I'm interested in data analytics, talent analytics, all these things. So I said, yes, there is a lot of scope. He was just 2 or 3 years old in his experience. He did that skilling for himself. And I ensured that I connect him with the right HR group, because I was in the HR function. It was easy for me to say, hey, this is one guy. And he started working, and they understood that this guy has a lot of potential and interest, passion towards that. In 2 years after that, he was part of various projects, and he was absorbed in a different project. When the IJP came, his name was automatically the first. So I think we should create the opportunities for people to apply, to showcase their skills, to even be in touch. I've seen some people, they learned 5 different skills in the last 2-3 years, but nothing is happening about it, right? And on the other side, the organizations also say that my organization is becoming a training ground for the others. Because, okay, this skill is a hard skill. You train people, but what did you do with that? Make a person at least as a trainer or SME or knowledge management or guru. There are many things we can do. I think these are some of the basics that I've been hearing from the beginning are still a struggle for many organizations. And then talent loss and talent attraction. That becomes an irony in this situation. Of course, I'm not simplifying it. There are complex reasons for each of these things when they happen. But somebody as a simplifier has to see that. I've seen some leaders coming on board and saying, hey, what's happening? There's this talent, so many people, what are you doing about it? Because many people get into the silo. This is my business. I want these people. I have these people. But what about learning and the whole ecosystem? Yeah.
I think your example reminds me of something, I saw a few years ago when I was interviewing a guy for a trainer role within the organization, an employee who was in a different department. And then I found he has good domain knowledge, but he needs to improve on his communication skills. I gave him that feedback. So a month later, he came back to me and then said, Surya, I have completed 5 e-learning modules on communication skills. Now I'm ready. So yes, I think it's sometimes people think just, going through a few training programs, some modules, online modules, etc. They're ready and they have the skills. So I think it's also the mindset shift that has to happen. And then a lot of counseling, while the technology is going to take care of a lot of, skill mapping, just-in-time mapping, enablement, etc. But I think as HR professionals, we'll have to really create the ecosystem where we can kind of, coach people, counsel people, and then understand, it's not just about going and completing 20 courses. It's about completing the right courses, which are relevant for my role. I think, and sometimes you'll have to give them that coaching and mentoring, which is important. Soumya, if you'd like to share your thoughts on this question.
Well, I think I was to say something slightly different. For me, I think today when you talk about skill building, I see it more at a certain level of proficiency and things. It becomes an organization, deliverable. Do you have the right set of training? Do you have the platform? Somewhere I think the empowerment has to be on the talent themselves, and empowerment from a long-term standpoint, because not from the examples you said, I don't build a skill because I want to clear an interview in a month, right? I build a skill because I need to go deep into a subject. I need to be an SME, and gone are the days, probably I won't say gone are the days, but maybe we're getting there where I want to learn a skill because I need to get this compensation, or I need to get to the next level. But in times like these that we are in today, how can I be more employable with lateral skills? I think the advice would be, how can we make this more how can we bring in empowerment with the talent themselves? And personally, I truly believe that a lot of our benefits that we offer are very timed, and they are for the period of employment. Skill is something, once I gain, it's with me, whether I'm with the organization or not. But I don't know if I'm seeing it that way as a talent. I probably see it that way as a trainer. I see it that way as someone, as an HR profession, but I don't know if I'm seeing it that way as a talent. I think that's something that I've been trying to kind of build on from on a future standpoint.
I would like to now move on to the Q&A session, but Ranga, quickly, if you want to give your perspective in 30 seconds, then we'll open
Yeah.
it up for the audience.
So building and sustaining a future-proof skills ontology actually requires a lot of simplicity, which I think Meena and Yogesh spoke about. So I think my advice for future for organizations to have the right set of parameters to build a proper skills ontology would be to first focus on what the business objectives will be, and then also focus on what the talent needs are, because they are the ones who need to acquire those skills and then develop those skills. So that's the secondary important aspect. And then the third most critical aspect is that whether the skills that we are building is relevant to industry, it is industry responsive or not. So that's the third most important thing. We should not be developing skills in silos which probably the industry may not respond to or the clients are not very happy with. And the fourth and not the least one is our skills taxonomy or ontology scalable. Are we using a technology to make it more scalable, and how fast can we scale it? Is there an analytics or an artificial intelligence tool that is built, and can we integrate that into our HRMS system so that we can make it more easier for people to use? So those are four things that I think would be my advice for organizations to build an efficient skills taxonomy and ontology and start using it also easily. Thank you.
Very, very relevant tips, Ranga. Thank you very much. Panelists, I think we have got a fantastic session. I think so far, if I kind of quickly reflect on, summarize what the discussion has been, I think we started by talking about skills ontology and what is its relevance in today's times, and how we make it really impactful by aligning this to the priorities and the objectives of the organization and the needs of people. We talked about the key considerations. We talked about how we make it simple, how we keep it holistic, how we establish relationships between skills, and so on. And we also talked about some of the other, challenges while we build a great framework, a platform, AI-enabled platform. But do we have the right learnings within the organization? Have the skills been defined? Are we going back and relooking at skills every 6 months? Or we continue to have obsolete skills in our, skills repository? Looking at all these considerations is important. We also talked about, what are the future trends and how we can really make the skills ontology more meaningful by keeping it simple, easy for everyone to kind of leverage, and by providing more power to the talent, to the employee, and creating an ecosystem which enables that. An ecosystem where manager doesn't want to hold on to the talent and saying, I'm not going to release, but there is more power to everybody. And then the framework actually kind of enables this. I think fantastic discussion. I'm sure there might be a few questions. So audience, if you have any questions, use the chat window or the Q&A tab to post your question. We can probably take about a couple of questions from you. I clicked on the tab and I see there's not a question, but a comment from Suresh. He says, good one, Meena. Great example. Agree, we need to simplify, firstly for our employees and then for managers. So that's a comment for you, Amina, from Suresh. Any question?
Which means we did a phenomenal job of cracking the whole thing for you, right? There are only two ways. Either you've completely understood with us or you've without us. So we are assuming you're all with us.
I think the first one.
Confounded is an adjective. Confounded is an adjective.
Yeah.
You really made it simple for everyone to comprehend.
Simplicity always, makes people down.
Yes, yes. So if there are no questions, Parthada, we can close the session.
Yes.
I would thank all the panelists, Vikas, Ranga, Yogesh, Soumya, Meena, for making it to this panel discussion and then sharing your wonderful insights on this very, very relevant topic. Thank you very much. We hope to stay in touch. Thank you, Parthada. Thank you, Shiva, for giving us the opportunity. Thank you, Binu, for being the wonderful host today. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, audience.